91.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
9 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. And we're getting into one this hour that has really rolled the billows of smoke over the last couple of months, and in some cases, years. We're going to be looking into the universities in distress. Too broken to save? That's the question that we're going to ask. And we'll tell you who's joining us in the studio in just a minute. But I really need to remind you at this point that there's somebody who's always on your side, and that's I&M Bank. I&M Bank saying this morning, guys, you need to remember that we're right here, and that when you think about having a trusted ally by your side always, the I&M Bank promise is that we are right here. We empower you with the tools and support to turn your aspirations into reality. Whether it's a new business venture, whether you're thinking about your child's education, or just about securing your future, I&M Bank is here for you. From flexible financial solutions to personalized guidance, we're on your side, championing your progress and celebrating your successes. So don't just bank. Build your future with a partner who believes in you. Experience the power of on-your-side banking and find out more at any I&M Bank branch close to you. Remember, I&M Bank is on your side. So, from years when we heard about, some of the largest universities going into the doldrums, and then until a couple of weeks ago when we heard that again, Premier University on the brink, so many things following one another. And so we have to ask ourselves the question of what is actually happening in the university's circles, from funding models to mismanagement to all kinds of things. Dr. Charles Mukhwaya is the Secretary General of the Kenya University Staff Union, KUSU, and he's here in the hot seat with us this morning. Dr. Mukhwaya, good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Very well.
Karibu.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to your first time in the hot seat in the Situation Room. We are trying to assess the situation and from your point of view find out what's really going on and then point ourselves in a solution-oriented kind of conversation this morning. But before we do that, ever been to West Africa?
Yeah, been.
Have you been to Ghana?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Akwaba, as they would say.
Okay.
Mark has been, and he almost ate one of my favorite fictional characters, which was Curious George, but then he saw the hand and said no. He'll tell you what I mean by that. He's going to share a proverb from Ghana, which is where we are this week, and we would like to get your interpretation of the same.
Okay.
All right.
I was in the Ashanti region, and my friends were convincing me to try everything. So I tried everything, every bushmeat, as they call it there. And then I was supposed to be served a nice steaming portion of monkey steak. And how this place was set up is they had like 20 pots in a semicircle. And my host then told them that the only two things I have not tried, the snails and the monkey meat. I asked them one question: will I get Ebola? They said, no, this one has been boiled thoroughly, all those affirmations. So I served my fufu peacefully, and I walked over to the monkey pot, and I was sure I was going to eat it. Then a hand was floating like this. I looked exactly like my hand. That's where my appetite went.
Did you eat the fufu though?
Yeah,
Okay.
with other things.
Yeah.
Mostly I used to like their goat. I was just confused about the skin on the goat.
Yes. That skin is very tasty.
Bas.
Exactly. It is interesting, right?
Very, very tasty, yeah.
Yeah. You see, so Kenya, you're just wasting meat when you remove skin from a goat. I hope my friend, there's a friend of mine who likes roasting meat. Huti, umesikia? Wacha kutoa ngozi, tukule hiyo kitu, vile iko. So now to the proverb. I'm glad at least I got a smile out of you. You're a very serious character. The ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people. The ruining of a nation begins in the homes of its people. That is the question.
The proverb.
Yes, the proverb. The question is, what is your interpretation? Yes. Well corrected. Because how can a proverb be the question?
Well, maybe just put it in the other way. I mean, charity begins at home. When the home cannot hold, for example, a family cannot hold, then the society cannot hold.
Yeah.
country cannot hold. When the center is not holding, everything falls apart.
Indeed. When the center is not holding, everything falls apart. Well, how about visionary? Because that goes directly to the conversation that we're having this morning. That unfortunately we've seen too much falling apartness. And yes, I'm going to patent that as a phrase. That when it comes to the university's problem that we see today. You're in the Kenya University Staff Union, so obviously you cut across universities in the nation. So this is not just one university we're talking about and looking at its issues alone in isolation, but this is across board. That there seems to be something wrong. When we look at certain cases, it would appear as though there's been mismanagement of funding and that thing has all gone to the dogs. But when we look at another one, we see that councils perhaps want some kind of autonomy, that maybe the state is involved in, pressuring some kind of control. When we look at another one, that we still just don't seem to have our research and things in order to be able to have these universities run. Sometimes we can't have academic staff unions being paid what they're owed or being paid on time. We have statutory deductions that have been unpaid for years. I mean, really, take a stone and throw it. It will land on something that's a problem, right? But then we have to ask the question that what really is the problem, and are they homogeneous across board? That in terms of what is ailing the universities that are currently in distress. And in a very simple question, what is going on?
Good one. Thanks, Udu. First of all, as a country, one of the indicators of the development of any country is the literacy level, and more so education at the university level. In our country, we seem to have a problem within the entire education sector. But to zero in on what is happening in our public universities, I think is more critical for me, because that's where I belong. Our universities in this country are facing serious challenges. That if we don't, as a country, take deliberate steps, these universities are going to be decimated and we'll have no university. And yet we have an overwhelming population of young Kenyan boys and girls who are yearning for university education. Now, one of the major challenges that our universities are facing currently, I would put it squarely on the government. Why do I say that? Who is the owner of these institutions? These are state-run institutions. If I came in your village or your neighborhood and I come across potty-bellied, cahexic-looking children, the question that would come to my mind would be, whose children are these? Whose children are they? The owner, the parent of that child or those children, right? It's the same thing. Our universities are facing these challenges because the parent has neglected them. One, the government has been lying to the universities for more than 15 years. When employers called the university councils are appointed, they're appointed to ensure that the managements of those institutions run and manage the resources that the government has given them.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. Now what happens is that you will find that the government itself, instead of giving funds to these institutions, the government started by drastically reducing the capitations to these institutions. So much so that you will find in 2016, that's when the most drastic reduction of budgets to these institutions began. And at the same time, the same government ensured that the Module 2 programs that were actually helping these institutions mitigate the budgetary deficiencies were also done away with. So the government is reducing capitation every year. The Module 2 programs have also been scrapped. So where do you expect these managers appointed to run these institutions to get money? To run these institutions, you cannot get money from your pockets. It is the parent, the house help that you have in the house can only manage that house when you have given him or her the tools of business.
Charles, education is a pillar of any country, whichever you want to look at it. And the university education for this country for a very long time has been something that has been revered, not only in the region, People have come from far to come seek university education in this country. And where we are today, that funding to education has gone down. You look at the funding model as well is in shambles. One asked the question, why isn't university education a priority to the government?
First of all, I would say I don't know, but I want to just to think on my feet. When we have a country where academic dwarfs find themselves occupying the political space, and therefore they are the ones who are making decisions, then what do you expect? These dwarfs have the temerity of even going about and buying university degrees and donning academic gowns. And so they're telling the whole world, what is university after all? I can have what I want even without it. I have the money, I can buy it. Now, when you have those kinds of people, then the government will not pay fidelity to the reverence that you're talking about. University education is nowadays, it's an academic, these are institutions that are now like, how do I put it? They are being dragged in the miasma of academic sludge. Who cares? After all, I can get what I want in this country. So the systems are not just working, and therefore the government does not care.
I thought that students are supposed to go to university, they get an education, they finish, they come out, and then, either they can get into the workforce, they get into the service industry, or they start their own business kind of thing. I thought that is what is supposed to happen when they go through the university system, and that everybody who works within this ecosystem is to ensure that that process happens. I thought that's what it's supposed to be doing.
You're right.
Okay.
And it's good you thought.
Okay.
When you have leaders who do not want that to happen for their own reasons, you see, it's about when you allow that ideal situation to go on, what are you aiming at? You are aiming at empowering the common mwananchi. You're empowering these young men and women. They have gotten through the university education. They have gotten to start working. They have, income. And that's a threat to some people in the political space. So what do? Ensure that these people, first, the system through which they're going as university is not working. And even if those who manage to scrap through, there are no jobs. And even if they get jobs, they're overtaxed. So you remain with an impoverished.
Charles, for a very long time, the blame as well has been thrown back to the universities, in the sense that one would argue that there came a time when universities pretty much expanded so fast that they would not be able to meet the requirements of running these institutions. And one would say, it has been said, that this has contributed to the universities being on their knees today. Is that the case?
It's not the case. First of all, it's a very good thing to expand our universities, although you expand to a certain level. In fact, under the Universities Act 2012, every county in this country is supposed to have a university. But not all of counties have universities. So when you look at the number of universities, you also look at the population of those who are yearning for these services. Kenya has the population. Kenyan boys and girls are good in terms of the academic. they want to, go to university and learn. Unfortunately, majority of the Kenyan parents cannot afford to take their children abroad or take their children to study in private universities. So public universities would be the ultimate, destination for these people. And I can tell you, as we speak right now, it is not that those universities are crowded. To say that now they have, it's just a question of, as I said, the first thing was lack of adequate capitation. But then there's another problem. That those who have been appointed to run those institutions, are they really carrying out prudent management of resources? No. No. We have seen, and we continue seeing in these universities, managers who are not just up to date. They are not up to scratch to handle the rigors of management, financial management, human resource management, call it. Instead, we have some of these guys who are involved in ethnicity. Right? They don't care about, the institution. They care about what is my people saying. This university belongs or is found in this community. And therefore, it is this community to run the affairs of whether it's being run down and down and down, they don't care.
But there's some running happening.
But some running is happening. I think that. So that is part of the problems that we're having in our institutions. And then the government that puts these people there also has a hand again. Issues of governance in our universities that we are seeing, some of these universities now, wars between the university councils and the university management, is because there seems to be a hand that is making this fight to go on for their own selfish ends. And I can tell you, one of the reasons why they're being made to fight is the resources that some of these universities or the properties that these universities have. Right? So somebody is interested in those properties. So what do? Make the situation around the governance as fluid as it can be possible, so that then you can, put your sticky fingers there. And they insist that specific individuals must be the ones to run the institution, must be the vice chancellors, must be the chairman of council, so that then, once they're there, they will be bidding for the people who put them there.
I have been listening to you quite intently.
Yes.
The truth is, as someone who grew up in a university, then went to the same university, I saw that university since I was a kid. I think my first memory of being in Egerton University starts in 1989. And even when I was a kid, as vice chancellors changed, I realized that because it was in a certain region, certain tribes began to be the only people who can be vice chancellors. And just like you said, properties started disappearing and things like that. Then around 2015-16 there, they began to spend on magical things like the 50 million shillings gate.
Yeah.
Yes, you see, you even know about it. And fencing, a river where?
Yes, electric fence around
the university.
Yes.
And Egerton is huge. Huge. I think it's the biggest university by simple landmass in Kenya. It's bigger than KU. Now, all that is true. And I say that to bring me to this point. How, in God's name, does the new or old financing model actually deal with these problems? Because I don't think the problem is the financial model, is it?
It's part of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
explain.
Yeah. First of all, when you look at these institutions, solely they depend on the exchequer. The taxpayers, contributed taxes, and therefore they're supposed to get in there. Now, when these taxes are collected and the money budgeted for these institutions is not adequate, the managers are tempted to do the crazy things. And some of them They are put there so that then they are able to give tenders and contracts. The very people who are supposed to be ensuring that budgeting is done
Yeah.
have vested interest in that or in those institutions, like the one that he's talking about. I'm an alumni of that university.
Yeah.
A lot of land, arable land.
Yeah.
And then when the government comes in place, the vice chancellor is told 5,000 acres are hived away.
Yeah.
The same people who are supposed to be making that institution run properly, they are the ones again who are coming in and using whoever they have put there to take these properties away. So what is it? It's because these guys, some of them are the owners, or their cronies are the owners of private universities. Well, how do you explain a whole government deciding that students who have qualified to join university, the same government ensures that they go into and they get admitted into private universities. And then the same government funds those institutions after sending students there
Yeah?
at the expense of their own public universities.
What are you talking about?
Just wait.
I'm sorry.
We are together.
I don't
Ati,
understand.
Wait. Private university,
Yes.
government money.
Yes.
Yeah.
How? It sounds like magic.
Yeah, I don't understand.
It happened. It has happened. Yes.
No,
I need you to explain
we need
it.
you to explain. The two of us are.
Yeah.
You know, students, these are government-funded students. They have been admitted into a private university. So where are they
But
going
the
to be funded?
point
Wait.
of government funding is for you to go to a
A
public
government-
institution.
Yes.
So how do you get public funding?
That is a $6 million question. That we have people who they have that temerity of making sure that happens. And students keep going there. In fact, one of the biggest problems and the causes of what we are having is when students started being taken to private universities. Students who have qualified to join public universities. The moment they were allowed to go, and listen to you and the new funding model, what does it say? The money will follow the students.
Aye?
That's why it's called student. It's called what? Student-based funding model. Or
Let me ask a question. So in primary school,
yes,
let's take primary school. Is it still called primary school, even when it's this grading system?
Yes,
Comprehensive
yes,
and-
Yeah.
yeah.
So primary school.
Primary school is now comprehensive school.
Yes, so comprehensive school, whatever it is. Well, government sends capitation. It is like them sending capitation from Mukhwaya primary and then Hillcrest.
Essentially, that's what's happening at
Yes.
now
At
the
universities,
university
yes.
level. Yes.
Because-
it shouldn't.
yes, it shouldn't, but it's happening.
I've always
Why would
thought
you-
I'm clever, but I cannot see the logic there.
Well, how would you explain this? That if, for example, University A, its budget, it has done the budgetary estimates, it's coming to 4 billion,
Yeah.
right? And that is proved that is the amount of money they need. That university ends up getting 2 billion.
2 billion.
Okay.
So where is the other 2 billion going to?
Following the students.
Yes.
Okay, the next time I steal something, I shall
Okay.
tell you I'm following the students.
Who oversees this daylight robbery?
That is the question again. You see, I started by telling when you have people up there who do not know and they don't care, the oversighting role also has been thrown through the window. Why would I want to oversight when I'm interested in the outcome? Because the government, when it is giving these institutions money, run this institution on my behalf, I thought then the same government should ensure that it oversights and it ensures that that person whom I've given this amount of money is doing the right thing that I'm supposed to. The auditor reports have said it all. Right? Nobody is bothered. Then look at our MPs in parliament. Are they of any help?
Depends to themselves, yes.
Maybe, yes.
Yes, very much.
Yes.
Okay, I think we need to take a break because this is
Because me and you are lost.
yeah, this is and here we were thinking that the problem was because a little bit of mismanagement here, not being able to catch up because statutory deductions are late, kind of thing. But it seems as though this cankerworm has eaten much deeper than we can imagine. And even when we're talking about having solution-oriented conversations, it seems as though the solution to this is overhauling the entire system for it to work. Otherwise, we're just going to keep hurtling into this abyss of abnormalcy, which is now trying to be touted as normal. It's not normal. It's absolutely barbaric in terms of what's happening. And then we need to then ask ourselves the question that my friend Dennis Okari also asks, why are we shocked? If this is what you put in, what do you expect to get out?
Garbage out.
What do you expect to get out? And so we're having a conversation about universities in crisis. What exactly is going on, and what then we ask is the solution to some of these issues. This morning, our guest in the studio is Dr. Charles Mukhwaya, who is the Secretary General of Kenya University Staff Union. And we're asking the question, is it too broken to save? Let's think about that as we come back from this break at 27 minutes to 10.
This week in the Nairobian, Maxine Wahome breaks her silence. What really happened before the death of Assad Khan? Faith Masakwe reveals the price she paid for not bearing a son. Snake rituals in churches. Is this faith or deception? We peel back the veil on the Freemasons. Secrets they don't want you to know. And in our court files, the liquor drama that landed a husband in hot soup for a 300-shilling drink. The Nairobian, nothing says hidden. Grab your copy now from your nearest vendor or visit epaper.standardmedia.ca.
Your health, your questions, our mission.
So what do you look out for?
Health Digest, your trusted guide to living better, longer and healthier, is back. And it is bigger and better.
We just can't gonna carry on with the treatment.
From cutting-edge medical breakthroughs to everyday wellness tips, we uncover the facts, bust myths, and bring you expert insights that matter.
Our target for tuberculosis is to make treatment much easier.
Whether it's fitness, nutrition, mental health, or medical advancements, we break it down in a way that's easy to understand and act on. Stay informed, stay empowered. Don't miss Health Digest with Gloria Milemo every Saturday at 9 p.m. only on KTN, where your health is our top priority.
Joins us in the Situation Room this morning as we're looking at whether universities in distress issue, is it too broken to save? Because some of the things, my head is whirling. Because sometimes when we look at an issue and we think we know what the problem is, and then to start to dig just a little bit deeper below the surface to realize that it is a very, very, very deep problem, and that here we are thinking that universities in their mandate are to oversee the process that delivers a university education to the country's children and then into students and into adults later. But it seems that we're doing everything but that this education that you're talking about is just like a byproduct. You know how from oil, one of the byproducts you get is kerosene. It's like this education is just, maybe it'll happen along the line, but others seem to be involved in other processes that seem to have taken precedent over an education.
Indeed, it is our universities. What is causing all these problems is about politics, it's about corruption. And unless we depoliticize and de-ethnicize our universities, these problems that we are talking about will continue. When you choose not to give these universities adequate funds and you want to correct even things that you only need to fix, there was no problem with the funding model. That used to be there. DUC was not as bad. It only required the government to play its part. The government promised to pay 80% of each student's academic program's expenses. Then the student, of course, the student meaning the family and other means, getting loans and so on and so forth, scholarship, 20%. The government never gave the 80%.
Okay.
So,
sorry.
So
you see, when you're dropping these bombshells, it's necessary for us to now say, okay, please just repeat what it is that you said, so we can have an understanding. Start from the 20 and 80 and what was supposed to happen, and then what didn't happen, please.
You know what we need to do? We need to tell you to drop the bombs pole.
Small.
Otherwise, we lead you to come back again and again. Because you're dropping too many bombs.
Please.
Okay,
elucidate.
fine. Oh, fine. Thank you. We have what has been serving these institutions for years, called the DCU, DUC funding model, differentiated unit cost.
Yes.
In that arrangement, the government promised that it will give 80% of the cost of each student's program. Okay. And then you, the student, through, of course, your household, your parent, help, you will raise the remaining balance of 20%.
Okay.
Now, while the student and his family would struggle and ensure that they get the 20% paid, the government never paid 80% it promised.
How much?
So it was at the point where now they were saying, now we want to, let's try a new funding model. The government was paying up to 38% of the 80% it promised to pay.
Over how long? Over what period of time?
Years.
Yes.
Hold on.
Yes.
38% of the 80% means it is almost 25% of the 100%.
Yes.
Over years.
Yes. So then,
Okay.
what do you expect the vice chancellor to do? He doesn't have enough money to run the programs for these children, to keep them there. It's like the primary and secondary schools. You promise to give them capitation. Then you tell them, allow students to come to school. The same thing. Allow students to come to the universities. I'm going to give you money. Then you don't give money. Where is the university going to get the money? And at the same time, there's no module 2, which was raising money to mitigate the budgetary deficiency.
Program.
Yes. You see that? So these managers are now faced with a very difficult situation. How do we balance? And then, as he's doing that, people up there, Uncle Sam, he's still interested in what he can get from that institution. He's still interested. If there are properties like you have said, as a vice chancellor, you will be told, you get police and other officers coming and saying, fence.
Charles, for a very long time, when it comes to funding of universities, there has been communications from the highest office in the land that universities need to be creative. You need to find your own source of revenue and fund your own programs because the government does not have the funding. Can universities do that? Let's just ask that question for the sake of us.
Thank you. Universities can do it. Universities can do it. And universities are supposed to be creative in terms of intellect. They're supposed to involve themselves in innovation, in research. And not just research for academic empowerment, building your CVs and so on and so forth, but research that aims at addressing societal problems, where then you're attracting the private sector to come in and even pump in more money to do more research, and even collaborators from outside there. Universities can do it. And we have scholars of no mean achievement who can do it. But look at it this way. When these institutions try to do that, a good example I'll give you, Kenyatta University. Kenyatta University comes up with an idea and says, okay, we're coming up with a teaching and referral hospital of our own. Set it up there. They did a lot of work with the partners from outside, the Chinese government and so on and so forth. The government, after this facility is done and ready to roll out its services, the government grabs it. So will you then, moving forward, will you then be interested? Because I come up with an idea, right? And then you grab it and you make it your own. It becomes a challenge to some of these great minds that we have.
True. And for me, these things are so real because I grew up in a university, literally, and I saw it year by year diminish to the extent that I really thank God my mother retired, because if she was still there, she'd still be dead. Because salaries would be dead because salaries delayed 6 months. Then they delayed because they were building an electric fence over, I think it's over 50, 60,000 acres. I don't know to guard what.
It's not a game park.
You get.
And it can't catch a fly. It can't kill a fly.
You understand?
Yes.
And most of the time it's not even working, right? So I've seen this in real life, the wastage plus the lack of capitation plus the damage that was done to universities to kill the parallel program, because that is what supported universities. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, if you had the president's ear and he says, I will do anything you want to revive these universities, what are the 2, 3, 4 things you would say?
First, I would tell you he's lying. I'll give you
My friend,
one reason as to why.
Okay.
I'll buy you shock absorbers on your way out.
You see, first of all, the university that is just outside the president's home, Moy
Yes.
University, is in doldrums right now. Complete doldrums. To a point that it has gone ahead and declared staff redundancies unprocedurally. And the matter is in court, so we don't want to delve into it.
Yes.
But even as that happens, the reasons behind that decision is that the university is facing financial crunch. But listen to this. We have had politicians saying, justifying why Moi University went down like that one of the reasons is that it gave rise to many new universities around the country. That is the reason.
Why it is in doldrums?
Yes, that's one of the reasons why they say the financial crunch that is facing that university is because it spent so much money to open up other universities.
Satellite campuses and such.
Actually, now they are universities. But as it is, as they say, the same university under this government is actually opening up another university in Baringo. So, what is it? If you're saying you're going to fix this problem, you're saying perhaps these universities are underfunded, or they are crowded, or there are too many, then why do you go on to open another one under the same university that is actually facing problems? We are having staff there who have never earned their salaries for months on end. They have taken third-party loans, the bank loans, corporate society loans, through the university payroll. And the university agreed to deduct and remit. It has never done that. Now you declare this staff redundant and you owe them their salaries. You've made them be recorded in a CRB. You have never remitted their statutory deductions.
Yeah.
You're looking at that. And then you say you want to fix. If you really want to fix, then there are certain things that you must be deliberately accept to be made. And as a government, if I were in the government, first, the debts that these universities are owed, would one, first of all, fix them. They're running to over 70 billion right now.
What?
The total amount that these universities are owed is now more than 70 billion.
That the government has not
The
given.
government has not given them. So even as you are coming up with these new things that you are saying you are going to do, you're going to fix, first things first. Help this institution settle their debts. They have not paid suppliers, they have not paid statutory deduction, they have not paid salaries, they have not, all those things. These taxes that you are taxing Kenyans, why can't you take part of it and fix it? We saw Kenya Airways, we saw Mumias being bailed out by by government. Why can't the same government do a similar thing? So that now when you are trying to say we are fixing, we can see, yeah, indeed, as it's promising.
It's so similar things.
Yes.
You see, when you bail out Kenya Airways has wasted money.
Yes.
You are giving it money to get out of doldrums. You guys are saying you are owed money.
We are owed.
So it's not the same thing.
Yes.
This is money that literally time, work, effort, goods and services have actually been consumed in the promise of a debt from government.
Yes. In fact, that's why if you can actually bail out an institution that has just deliberately wasted resources, you can do that. How about bailing out institutions that you owe? You owe. Not that they, of course there is wastage, but not to the level maybe of the Kenya Airways and MMOs. But this you owe them. Money meant to go for their staff, employees, pension schemes, for example. They have never been given. Money meant to go towards the statutory deductions like the KRA and so on and so forth. You don't want to give them. Instead, you keep reducing the budget that. So that's why we're saying it's a deliberate, looks like it's a deliberate effort by the government to impoverish these institutions for their own reasons.
You see, you've talked about two things that I picked up, which is in terms of funding the universities and making sure that that they are well paid, that debt is paid, and that we need to depoliticize the running of these institutions. Honestly speaking, are we ready to take that away? To just let universities be autonomous and do their thing?
It's yes or no. A government or a country must have at least government-run universities. So to allow universities to be autonomous in the sense that you want them to be run like private institutions, it may not be possible. But yes, to afford it. Because as I said, majority of our parents are very poor. They can't afford to take their children to. But on the flip side of your question, it is possible to depoliticize our institutions. It is possible to de-ethnicize those institutions. Why must be a certain community be the one to produce the vice chancellor? To a level where now you even find the university council and the university management and the parent ministry are at war, doling out letters. This one has given, this one is going to act today. Another one comes and says, no. We have revoked that letter. So-and-so is the one going to act. It's simply because somebody somewhere seems to be saying we must have someone there to bid for us. That if we can fix that as a country, we'll be on the way to recover.
Yani, you're basically saying, sisi ni wezi wa kikabila.
Yes.
We are tribal thieves, not chiefs. Thieves. Because, and this is my because, I'm actually in shock. Because I wonder if you are supposed to run your house and you have certain costs and your wife or spouse brings 25%, you're supposed to do the 75% and you bring 23%.
And you expect the house to run.
Right? So I'm shocked beyond words. I want to zoom into this new funding model. We've said many things about the funding model. Some good, some bad. Is there any part of it that is a cure to any of these ills? In fact, let me make it simpler. What is it? And does it have even an iota of a cure of the problems you talk about?
Thank you,
That's a
Mark.
stew on the table.
Thank you, Mark.
Yes.
I think it's part of the fallacy that Kenyans are being fed on, that we're going to fix. And to some people, including some of the vice chancellors, they think the new funding model is the panacea to the challenges that universities are facing. It's not. It is not. If anything, that is a model that is going to, I don't want to say balkanize, but sort of, create class
Yes.
amongst our learning students. That it will be clear on some of these students' faces that you come from a poor family.
Yes.
This one comes
Can you
from-
tell? Yes.
Yes.
By
You'll be
looking
able
at
to
them.
tell, by
Yes.
the way.
Yes. You know, therefore, you are not really going to solve a problem, but create even more problems. The problem that youth universities want is money. If DUC was the problem, you look at the exact gap that you think there was, and you fix it. And I've told you the gap.
Yeah. 75% paid 38%.
Yes.
Of 75.
That is, and that was cheaper for the government to do it. Because now this new one, you are saying money will only follow the student. So if University A has more students,
To get more money.
To get more money.
University B has less, it will get less. But look, students are aware and parents are aware. In our public institutions, there are industrial challenges, strikes,
Yes.
that so much so that students take long to complete and graduate their studies, right? So as we speak right now, even the number of students joining our universities is going down. Students would rather go to TVETs, they would rather go to these other tertiary, colleges, okay? Where they are more guaranteed, I'll go and train and I'm likely to get a job after that. If I go and do electrical engineering, say in a
And
National
waste-
Polytechnic.
And waste 5 years
Yes.
learning Laplace
Yes.
theorem.
So you already see that the number of students in our public universities is already going down. Meaning that funding is not forthcoming. Yes.
Wow.
You must create a situation where universities attract the highest number of students to come. To have that model working.
The issue that you talked about, essentially, that we are holding hostage the folks who, the state is holding, whoever is holding hostage, the folks who then are tasked with the responsibility to run these institutions in the manner in which they ought to be run. Are they forced? Are they shackled, gagged and bound to a post, or don't they have, thinking faculty of their own where somebody can stand up and say, I will not do this, I will do this other thing which I'm actually supposed to do? And then why do we see this replicated in so many in an institution? If it were one, then maybe we say, okay, maybe this is a bad egg in the basket. But if it is across board, because this disease is spreading, it's not just one institution that is suffering from this thing. There are many more. Just the other day now, we've seen Nairobi University, and it's in the public eye, so we can say it, is that there's word over who they want the chancellor to be. And if it is not who they have picked, then they're going to find a way to frustrate, that particular individual. I mean, because really, what are we doing? Don't these individuals have autonomy of mind?
And I'll tell you, without any fear of doubt, the current crop of our vice chancellors are cowardly. They are men and women who cannot tell the government the truth of what is ailing these institutions. They are men and women who cannot demand from the government that you owe us this, you must give us this. I last saw the stronger, brand of vice chancellors during the late Magoha's time when he was the vice chancellor. They would hold their hands and go to the parent ministry and demand and say, look, you have appointed us to run these institutions on your behalf. Get us the money to do so. If you don't want, come and run the institutions. The current crop,
They didn't try.
they cannot.
They couldn't try it.
In fact, they have become praise and worship team.
Yeah.
of the government. They're the ones who are clapping. The new funding model.
Knowing very well that it can't work.
It can't. But why are they doing that? They're doing that because somebody's in that office. First, he's looking at my first term. If it ends, I must get the second term. So I don't want to rabble-rouse the appointing authority. That's part of it. Secondly, they are also in conduit with those who, the powers that be. Yeah. When these universities are running down, I told you part of it is just mismanagement and corruption. But if you're using me to do the corrupt thing, my 10%.
So it's what's in it for you that's then going to preclude you or disallow
Yes.
you to do the right thing because
Yes.
there's something you're
There's
benefiting
something that
from.
you're benefiting from. And that's why they fight over it. If you've ever been keen, there is always a vicious war when it comes to appointments of VCs.
Yes.
What is it? One would ask himself, what is it? There are only a few men and women who have said, no, I don't want it. I'm comfortable, just working as a professor and teaching my students and supervising my students.
Bitangendem was one of them.
Yes, very few. But majority, they would fight tooth and nail, including going to the courts. They want that position.
So, Dr. One would just ask which way university